Okay, hello everyone. Thank you very much for coming here. Okay, so I'm Asma Afreen and I'm doing my Master of Education in TESOL at LLED at UBC. And in my talk, I'll talk about my research on translating stories into Bengali. In my research, I have tried to investigate to what extent my translator's identity is navigated in addressing the challenges of translating English stories from the African Storybook to Bengali, into Bengali for Storybooks Canada. So in my talk, I'll just briefly talk about how I navigated the challenges when I translated these stories. So you can see these are the 5 stories that I have translated so far for my graduating paper, and two stories were from level 2, 3 from level 3, and 2 from level 3 and 1 from level 4. And these are the 5 stories. So if you go to the website, you'll see that the 5 stories are there, and Aspen has already talked about how to navigate the whole website, and it's actually it's very easy actually. If you just go, you'll just find out all the stories there. And here, as I'll just briefly talk about my translation experience. I have chosen only one story, and that's Holidays with Grandmother, and it's a level 4 story, and in Bengali we say Chutir Dine Dadur Sathe. Okay, and I would like to draw your attention to the first slide of this story, and that's this. So because most of the challenges that I'll discuss today will be from this small part of the story, and you'll see that how I have looked at it from different angles. So this is the Bengali script, and that's the English. So my challenge of translation started with the process of translation, because when I was reading extensive literature, I have observed that translation studies is influenced by a significant number of radically different views, so I had to choose from them. So for my research, I mainly focused on Eugene Nida's theory of formal equivalence and functional equivalence. So formal equivalence is actually word for word and form for form translation, but this is not literal translation, because in literal translation we don't think about the context. But in formal equivalence, actually a formal translation is almost always contextually motivated. Some examples can be, for example, the use of proper names. So when I was translating it into Bengali, I kept the name same. So I used the Bengali script, but I kept the name Odongo and Apio. If you just see the story here, Odongo and Apio. So in Bengali, I kept the name same, because I wanted that the children who would be reading the stories, they should be aware of the African culture, and they should also be aware of the different names in different culture. And it was also same for the traditional food. So when I translated this, I kept the name same due to the same reason actually. And the other equivalence that I followed was the functional equivalence. And functional equivalence focuses on the total communicative event as the linguistic unit to be translated. So the job of the translator is to look at to understand the total communicative event in the source culture, and then find an equivalent total communicative event in the target culture, and then you translate it. One of the example is this. In the story, you can see that it says they looked forward to the holidays. But in Bengali, we don't have any equivalent phrase for this, looked forward to. So what I had to do, in my mind, I had to translate it like this, that they used to eagerly wait for the holidays, and then I tried to find an equivalent Bengali expression for it, and then I translated. So here I was thinking about the total communicative event, and then I was translating. So for me, it was functional equivalence. Functional equivalence. I'll share some more examples of this when I'll talk about the other slides. The next point that I would like to discuss was the linguistic knowledge of a translator. If you translate, you know it's really, really important to have the linguistic knowledge when you translate. the first point is that in Bengali we have relationship words. So for example, for paternal grandmother, yeah, I can see like in India as well, I know. So for paternal grandmother, we have a word that's like dadu or dadi. For maternal grandmother, we have nanu or nani. And we also have words for paternal uncle, maternal uncle, and so on. So when I saw this word grandmother, I was struggling with it because I was thinking which one I should choose. Should I choose maternal grandmother or paternal grandmother? So for that, what I had to do, I had to read the whole story and understand the context, and it was functional equivalence for me. So I chose dadu because I assumed it's paternal grandmother because children's father took them to village. So, but then again, like as a translator, I cannot just claim that the thing that I did, it was absolutely correct, because someone might argue that I think it would be maternal grandmother. So that was one of the challenges. And then the other thing is that Bengali lacks grammatical gender for pronouns, adjectives, articles, verbs. So for pronoun like he or she, in English you can see like male, like pronouns for men and women, but in Bengali we don't have it. I have written two words here, she or tini. Why I'll explain it in the next point actually, because in Bengali, like verb inflections and pronoun change depending on the seniority and respect of the person. So if I have an informal relationship with the person I'm talking to, or he or she is like junior to me, I'll use the word she. And if the person is senior to me, I'll be using the word tini. So here the thing was that when I was reading the story, I was thinking about my relationship with my grandmother. It's very informal, and when I address her with she. But I could not assume it for the whole reader, because it might happen like in Bangladesh, most of the time we address our grandmother with tini, not with she. So that's why I chose the word tini, not she. This is a very interesting point, I felt, because it's the cultural knowledge of a translator. If you see here, it says that she lived in a fishing village near a large lake. So that means they used to fish from the lake. But fishing from a lake is quite uncommon in Bangladesh. We usually fish from ponds, rivers, or marshy lands like waterlogged areas. But we do have word for lake actually. In Bengali, the word is like in Bengali script we write it rod. But I did not choose the word rod, because if I would choose the word rod, then it would be formal equivalence, because I'll be just thinking about I'll be thinking in the word level only. But I thought about the total communicative event and all, and the context of Bangladesh, the culture of Bangladesh. So I chose the word bil, that's the waterlogged areas or the marshy lands, and that looks like lake actually. So that's why I felt that it would be more applicable here in the context. And the next word was the word blessed. It has religious connotation. And in Bengali, we use the word doa, and that is more popular among Muslims, and the word ashirvad is more popular among Hindus. So here you can see, if you just look at the story, you see the word, so you see the word blessed here, and you can see the picture. It seems like the grandmother, she was blessing the children in a very traditional way. So when I read the whole story and I was trying to think about the African culture, I felt that ashirvad would be more appropriate word. So that's why I used the word ashirvad, not dua. And another reason for choosing the word ashirvad was my knowledge of Bengali children literature. So in my childhood, when I read children's stories, I have seen that in Bengali literature, most of the time the word ashirvad is used, not dua. So I felt that I think I should use the word ashirvad, not dua. And the other word, it was that paternal grandmother. For paternal grandmother, we also have many words. like dadu, dadima. Daduma is like very similar to grandma. We say grandma, so daduma, or also we also have dadi. But in Bengali literature, most of the time, dadu or daduma is used, not dadi. So that's why I chose dadi. I chose dadu actually. So I would like to draw your attention to the first slide again. You can see that it's a small part of the story, it's just a small paragraph. But I was thinking about Odongo and Apio, so here I was thinking about the challenges, what I should do. So there were like many debates were going on in my mind. Then they look forward to grandmother, lake, and then sheep. So I was thinking about a lot of things. So you can see that this story, it just had only 568 words, and if you just listen to the audio of the story, it may be just like 5 minutes and few seconds. But when I was translating it, it took me around 7 or 8 hours because that was my first translation. But I'll say that it may seem like a daunting task at first, but it gets easier with subsequent translation because you build up a mechanism or a schema in your mind. And it is a kind of, I'll say that it's a very rewarding experience because you see like there is English language in one hand, in Bengali language in other hand, and as a translator, I'm trying to merge these two cultures together. So, and that's really beautiful. Maybe it's true that the script, the morphology, the syntax, they are different from each other, but a translator kind of like blends the two cultures together and brings the cultures together. So that's my experience in short. Thank you.